What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just Because Gaming. My name is Michael,
And I'm Ray.
and thanks for joining us. Before we get into it, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get monetized, so we appreciate everybody that subscribes to the channel. And with that being said, let's jump into it.
Phil Spencer has announced that he is retiring. We kind of knew that he had a retirement coming up, but everybody sort of suspected he'd wait till like the 25th anniversary announcement, maybe the release of the new hardware, and kind of try and stay in there till that. But for some reason, he's decided to go ahead and retire now. He's going to stay on, I think, through the summer at least, as in an advisory position, and he's being replaced by Asha Sharma. She's being named the new Xbox CEO. She was leading Microsoft's core AI division. So she's worked on developing this AI and how it can be used and, monetized on throughout Microsoft. And I think she's been with Microsoft, they say, for about 2 years. Before that, she worked at, what was it? I know she's on the board at Home Depot. She worked for Instacart, getting that in place, and she worked for Meta at one point. She has had a successful record working in those companies, but she has no real gaming experience. I think the only game that they've heard really talk about playing was, Firewatch?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, since you're talking about her gaming history, a lot of people have been kind of slamming her on that, she does have like a technical background, like a very IT background and leadership background, but yeah, she doesn't really have a background with gaming. And, like when you look at it comparatively to how Phil Spencer was, he was a gamer first, and then he just kind of like worked his way up. And it does seem a little awkward. It looks like she was a outside hire, for their AI, like you said, core AI. And it looks like she just kind of fell into the role. I'm not sure. Like the whole thing is super sus. Like it is so awkward. The fact that, that the current staff are leaving and she's just like swooping in, like it's really awkward. Like it'd be one thing to me. It'd be one thing if like he announced his retirement and, they didn't announce someone to fill the position right away. But the fact that it's like done in the same breath,
So Phil had talked to the head of Microsoft about retiring, but it just kind of, usually there's like some fanfare, some announcement, here, let's get this person up to speed to take over my spot. And most people assumed Sarah Bond would be taking over his spot since, she's kind of been the second in command through all of this and seemed like she's being groomed to be the next face of Xbox because she was at all the events, Gamescom, these things. And she's very personable on screen and, had done a lot for Xbox. But apparently that's not happening either because she's turned in her resignation right behind Phil leaving. So I don't know, maybe because they decided not to go with her, she decided she's not going to stay where she's at. And I could understand that, you had your heart set on one thing, or maybe they don't think she was getting the job done in the direction they wanted to go. We don't know. And maybe we will never find out. Maybe one day this will all come out online. Things tend to do that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's super suspicious to me that, that he's, speeding up his timetable for retirement, and for Sarah Bond that she's like, to hell with it. And, she's putting in her resignation, and then you've got this lady, swooping in for the kill. And it's so weird because, I never really got a great vibe from Sarah Bond. Like she seemed very corporate to me. Like, yeah, don't worry, we care about you. Also, we're raising the prices, Like I never really got a great vibe from her. I do get a better vibe from Asha, but
that could also still be a corporate face put on there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things we're going to have to kind of wait and see. Yes, she's saying a lot of the right things and things that we want to hear as gamers, but I want to see the actions and see how this plays out.
Yeah. Like it's weird. I don't know why I get a better vibe. I think what it is that for Sarah Bond, like when she talked about the video game industry, she spoke about it from a very corporate standpoint. And, she did talk a lot about sales and revenue, and she did talk about consoles and games, but it always seemed like that was more of a not forethought, like an afterthought. And with this woman Asha, she right out the bat was talking about doubling down in games and not doing AI slop and everything. Right. Although, Ray, I don't know if you've seen this, or for any other viewers, if you all have seen this, but a lot of her posts are being criticized for seeming very AI because she's been responding to people that are like, hey, one of the most famous ones is, "Hey, what are your top 3 games?" And she mentions them, and then someone
Right.
else mentions about games, and then she responds by saying, "Yes, I already mentioned, my top 3 games in a different post, talking about, I forget which game, but she's like, "Oh, yes, have you played all the endings? Great input." And it's like, nobody says that,
Right. Right.
and
Maybe she's been
apparently
the voice of AI too long, and
yeah. The funny thing is there's this, like, little subsection that's like, "This girl, Asha, is she even real?" You know? How do we know this isn't actually AI, you know?
right? That
How
would be
how
wild to find
ironic
out
would that
she's
be?
not a real person. This has all been AI built. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to expect to see more AI in gaming, no matter whether it's PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever. I expect to see more AI being used in gaming, but not taking away from the artistic and creative part of it. And she says this too in her statement that, she wants to keep the creative, the storyline making and all that, but using AI to, we talked about that before for coding and for, making little bits of texture and things of that in the environment cuts down on the costs of making these games, making the games more profitable, making more games being built. So, the profitability of these games is one of the things that keeps the market going. You have to have that. They can't spend, 10 years building a game and probably a million plus a year, and expect to get their money back on it as easily as, if they can do it in 4 or 5 years by using
Mhm.
AI and a little bit smaller team.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, if AI can do that, if AI can help speed along the development of games and make it so that we can get the next Elder Scrolls and the next Fallout instead of taking, dozens of years, like over a decade for each of these games. If they can be released in like 5 or 6 years, that would be like groundbreaking because I mean, I feel like we've been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 for how long now?
It's been a
And
while.
yeah, so games like Grand Theft Auto, games like Elder Scrolls, games
Elder
like
Scrolls.
Fallout, they just take way too long to develop. And I mean, if that's the case, if AI can help with like the coding, because when I think of video games, I think of 3 things. I think of graphics, I think of, story, and I think of coding. Because the coding, is what the mechanics are, the combat, the aim, the VATs for Fallout, all that stuff. So if AI can come in and handle all the coding and the debugging and everything, and game developers only had to worry about, the skins and the story and, all that, that'd be awesome. That's cutting out, a good chunk of the game delay, and I would love that. I mean, yeah, it would suck because there's video game coders that would be downsized, but that just means that they're valued even more and they can work on more projects. Instead
Right.
of needing, say, 30 coders for a video game, you could get by with like maybe 10, for example. But then
Right.
those other 20 that would normally, be on something can be on something else.
Right,
Like the
you could
fact
have
that
Elder Scrolls being worked on and a Fallout game at the same time because 'cause you'd be able to take that staff that you have now and split it in 2 because they can use AI to do half of the work they were doing before. That way, you're not waiting as long to get the next Fallout or the next because 'cause they're both being developed at the same time, not one at a time.
yeah, I feel like that's happened before,
Yeah,
It's almost as if there was a company that split into like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 developmental houses so
yeah,
that
well
they could build multiple games at the same time and not, put all their eggs in one basket.
right?
You know,
We'll see if
I
Ubisoft
feel
pulls that off,
yeah, it's almost like Ubisoft knows what the hell they're doing.
right? But I also thought she was hinting at in some of her comments in her little, blog there with Microsoft that maybe we might see a comeback to the original roots of Xbox, like having some exclusives on our console or at least a timed exclusive, and she's definitely wanted to double down, and well, in one sense she's saying she wants to double down and there's going to be a console, so they're going to keep the console market going. That's the way it made it sound. But then in the next paragraph she's talking about it, Xbox being on all these other platforms. So
Yeah.
which one is it really, or is it going to be all of it? If they're going to make the console and they're going to do this as well on the other platforms, which seems like there's no backing out of that.
Yeah. It's a really weird situation because on one hand, I'm horrified that as a company, Xbox put someone in such a high position that has no gaming experience. Like when I first read that, my first thought was, dude, I'm gonna go apply as like a cardiologist surgeon. because why not? You know, if someone can lead a video game division with no video game experience, hell, I'm going to be a surgeon tomorrow cuz why not? No surgery experience, but I mean, that's the way the world's going these days, right? I'll use the help of AI. It'll be fine.
There
It'll
you
be
go.
fine.
AI will do most of the surgery, right? But
Yeah,
in
I'll
her
just ask
defense, she did,
ChatGPT, where's the liver again?
right? In her defense, she did promote Matt Booty to be her second in command, who does have a lot of experience in the gaming world. So I can see him doing all the heavy lifting as far as the gaming side of it. She's here to build a platform that will monetize and find ways to make money off of this. Hopefully, not at the expense, of things like raising the price of Game Pass. Maybe they can find a way to work around it. It's not going to, bring that price back down to reasonable instead of, hey, we're going to lose half our customers because they're not going to pay $30 a month. You know, but I mean, that's her skill set. When she was with Meta and these other places, she built a platform that had billions of people using it. Look at Instacart. That's been used by lots and lots of people. If they use the skill sets properly and she listens to the gaming side of it to, hey, will this work? Will this work? And, works with Mac Booty to kind of cover both sides of it and takes the time to learn what gamers want, there's hope there. Whether or not that's actually what happens, we'll have to wait and see.
So let us know in the comments below. With Phil Spencer leaving and Sarah Bond resigning and all this stuff taking place so soon, is that more of a rats deserting a sinking ship situation? Or do you think it's out with the old, in with the new, and, that this woman, Asha, is going to be a breath of fresh air and come in with new ideas and, cost saving measures so that the next Xbox isn't, $1,000 and is she going to be thinking of ways that they can save money and use AI to manufacture these consoles? Let us know in the comments below because we're very conflicted and very torn. I honestly don't know what to make heads or tails of this.
It's going to be a wait and see, and we'll react to it as it comes. But I hope she's got a thick skin because gamers will not give her any slack. They're going to come at her hard if she doesn't do what they think should be done.
Yeah, I've noticed that she's
She
trying.
needs to really communicate well with the community and let them know this is why we're doing this. This is what we think should be done here. And if the game community says no, don't do this, we're not going to support you in this. She needs to listen,
Yeah,
and
definitely,
that's the way to go.
definitely listening to the gaming community and being transparent with your communication is definitely going to go far if she does that, and I hope she does.
She seems like she's on that path so far, but like I said, it's really early in the game to tell. So we'll just have to kind of watch and see.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we've got for you today. We thank you for joining us, and like, subscribe, leave comments, let us know what you think and your opinions on this. Help us to build this community. But yeah, we can't wait to hear from you. Thanks. Later.
Peace.